Akiel was a Jawa Jedi? Yes, it sounds like a meme or bad fanfiction, but yeah, he's very real alright. The Jawas were known to be scrap traders and scavengers, riding through the dunes of Tatooine in the massive sand crawlers, picking apart ships and whatever valuables they could find and sell. Never would I have imagined any of them being a Jedi, yet here we are. Akiel was a male Jawa active during the Clone Wars who rose to the rank of Jedi Knight shortly before that. He went down the path of a Jedi Consular as, let's be real, a Jawa Jedi Guardian who at the sign of conflict would draw his lightsaber immediately and come slashing through would be too funny to witness. Around that time, Akiel and Kryn Debis, a Keldor Jedi Guardian, were selected to represent the Jedi Academy at the Dorma event in hopes of potentially recruiting new students for the Academy. The Jedi Council chose Akiel and Debis specifically because they held opposing views, being a Jedi Guardian and Counselor, hoping they could show at the celebration that the Jedi had a lot of different viewpoints, even within their ranks, and weren't just one big monolithic group that talked in unison. There they happily debated about all sorts of topics, from the cult of Sith believers to the wonders of the galaxy, whereas the Guardian Debis suggested that the believer had to be met with force. Akiel felt that they didn't know enough about them and should only act once they're sure what kind of threat they posed, showing their differing viewpoints. Akiel spoke perfect basic as well, but due to him being a Jawa, he had to deal with some people randomly saying, "Utini!" to him, which usually annoyed him quite a bit, as it was a phrase that was very common among Jawas. So, yeah, that's the story of Akiel, sweet and short. The Tusken Raiders of Tatooine are widely seen as brutal isolationist nomads. They are more associated with ambushes and kidnappings rather than wisdom or discipline. Hell, some didn't even consider them to be people. Yet, a Jedi that lived among the Tusken not only existed, but became one of the most tragic figures in Star Wars. Sharad Hutt, a Force-sensitive human, was born somewhere in the Outer Rim. He was handed over to the Jedi as an infant like many of his generation, with his parents being incredibly proud that their child would be becoming a Jedi. Hutt went on to be trained in the Jedi Temple on Coruscant and eventually became the Padawan of Jedi Master Eth Koth. The two formed a strong bond, with Koth even allowing Hutt to visit to his homeworld and his family, something that no other Jedi were really allowed to do. After completing his training, Hutt was knighted and quickly earned a reputation that surpassed even his masters. As a Jedi Guardian, he gained a series of grand titles: Howl Runner, the Champion of Kramar, Nemesis of Pirates, Defender of Camparis, Hound of Worlds, Tamer of Tyrants, and Nemesis of the Kim. He even went on to form a close connection with Qui-Gon Jinn, whom he affectionately called an old rascal. With all these accomplishments, he garnered a lot of fame for himself within the Order, but started to grow disillusioned with the recognition he received. His accomplishments clashed with the Jedi Code's teachings on humility and made him long for his family more than ever before, as he had lost contact with them over the years. After returning to the temple from yet another dangerous mission, he told Master Koth he wanted to leave the Order. In 47 BBY, with Koth's emotional blessing, Hutt departed the temple for good. Upon returning to his homeworld, however, he was left speechless. It had been devastated. War had broken out as off-world invaders attacked. The cities were destroyed, millions dead, including his entire family. Broken by grief, Hutt left the Republic and exiled himself to Tatooine. There, he became part of Tusken Raider society. Over time, he became a respected warlord among them, teaching the Tuskens new ways to fight. He married Kashyyyk, a human woman adopted into Tusken culture, and together they had a son, Asharad. Hutt began to pass on his Jedi knowledge to the boy. He seemed at peace until years later, Jabba the Hutt provoked a conflict between Tatooine's humans and the Tuskens. Hutt had no other choice but to lead the Tusken tribes in defense, trying to limit bloodshed and protect the civilians. The tales of a lightsaber-wielding Tusken warrior soon broke out across the galaxy, reaching the Jedi Council as well. In an effort to convince him to come back to Coruscant, Ki-Adi-Mundi was dispatched to try and evaluate his situation. Mundi revealed to Hutt that the Sith had returned and they had killed Qui-Gon. Although hearing about Qui-Gon's death shocked Hutt, he believed his time with the Jedi to be over and his new place to be with the Tuskens. Eventually, bounty hunter Aurra Sing, who used to be trained as a Jedi, in contract with Jabba, led a surprise attack on the main Tusken camp. There, Het and Aurra Sing faced each other, where Sing was able to distract Het temporarily and land a killing blow. As he lay dying, he made Ki-Adi-Mundi promise to take Sharad into the Jedi Order and train him as a Padawan. Mundi agreed. Sharad Het's final words were filled with quiet pride, not in his Jedi legacy, but in having known his son. The Tals are a primitive four-eyed, fur-covered species from icy worlds like Alzok 3 and Orto Plutonia. Most of their kind live in isolation and have limited interaction with the rest of the galaxy. One episode in the Clone Wars even went as far as to depict them as nothing else but primitive beings. Yet one Tals broke that mold, Fal Modama. He was taken to the Jedi Temple as a child after being identified as Force-sensitive. Modama adapted well despite his species' reclusive nature. He constructed a blue lightsaber and rose to the rank of Jedi Knight, eventually serving as a general during the Clone Wars. Towards the end of the Clone Wars, he even reached the rank of Jedi Master, as he was known for his serene and quiet nature, being deeply connected to the living Force. During the Battle of Coruscant, Modama was tasked with protecting the Chancellor alongside several other Jedi. A chase through Coruscant ensued, with Modama, Roran, Korob, and Shaak Ti staying by the Chancellor's side to defend him while constantly being attacked by General Grievous and his Magna Guards. Modama even went so far as to carry the Chancellor in one hand while fending off the Magna Guards with his other. Eventually, Grievous caught up to them, and in a final stand, alongside Roran Korob, Modama was killed by the infamous Droid General, leading to the capture of the Chancellor. So, if you think about a Jedi, what comes to mind? Serene, fast, and agile warrior of peace, right? Well, a Hutt wielding a lightsaber and defending the galaxy is kind of the opposite of all of that. Beldorian, though, was exactly that, and the only known Hutt to ever join the Jedi Order. He was discovered by the Jedi around 400 BBY and brought to the Temple. There, he was trained in the ways of the Force and underwent the same training as every other Jedi initiate. After graduating from the Academy, he was chosen as a Padawan and, after years of missions with his master, passed the trials to become a Jedi Knight. During his time as a Knight, Beldorian was sent on a mission to the planet Namchorios alongside fellow Jedi Knight Taselda. There, they failed to complete their mission and fell to the dark side. Beldorian turned on Taselda, viewing her as weak, and seized control of the planet for himself, declaring himself ruler. Henceforth, he declared himself ruler, adopting titles like Beldorian of the Ruby Eyes and Beldorian the Splendid. His rule quickly became tyrannical, with him enslaving many and ruling through fear. At some point during his rule, he came across a parasitic creature known as Dzim and struck a deal with him. In exchange for access to the planet's rare Silstones, Dzim helped the Hutt retain his strength and youth through dark-side energy, thus enabling him an extremely long lifespan. For hundreds of years, he ruled over Namchorios and even survived the Clone Wars Jedi Purge and the Galactic Civil War. It wasn't until 13 ABY, when Jedi Callista Ming arrived on the planet, that his rule would be disturbed. She was captured before she could confront him, which led Leia Organa Solo to investigate. Leia went on to challenge Beldorian in a duel, and the two clashed with their respective lightsabers. Despite his age and weakened state, due to Dzim feeding off his energy, Beldorian was a dangerous opponent. He had the ability to summon powerful force storms and had used the Force to maintain a muscular body. His strength was even able to nearly break a human's wrist when swinging his lightsaber. However, Leia was a lot more agile and was able to outmaneuver him quickly before stabbing him through the chest. Hence, the story of the only Hutt Jedi had ended, as well as his century-old rule. At first glance, Ikrit looked like a tiny, fluffy pet, something between a cat, a rabbit, and a gremlin, but he was actually a Jedi Master trained by none other than Master Yoda. Yoda was on visit to the planet Kushiba searching for a Padawan. Ikrit, at first unaware of Yoda's intentions, tried to help the Jedi Master in any way possible. When Yoda revealed that he was the Padawan he had come for, Ikrit at first found it absurd, as no one of his species had ever even come close to becoming a Jedi, but was soon convinced that it was the greatest honor imaginable. After becoming a Jedi Knight, he had an incident where he almost killed one of his Jedi peers after a disagreement, which was only stopped by Yoda's interference. Henceforth, Ikrit swore to never use a lightsaber again, rather rely only on the Force. He eventually rose to the rank of Jedi Master. At some point, he discovered a Massassi temple on Yavin 4 that contained the trapped souls of Massassi children. After failing to free them, Ygritte chose to remain at the temple, entering a self-imposed exile. Believing that someone else would eventually come who could release the children, he entered a Jedi hibernation trance that lasted for 400 years. As a result, he slept through major galactic events, including the Clone Wars and the Galactic Civil War. Centuries later, Ygritte was awakened when a young Anakin Solo arrived at the temple. He initially mistaken Ygritte for a harmless pet, but Ygritte soon revealed his true identity as a Jedi Master after working with Anakin and Tahiri Vela to solve the mystery of the Golden Globe. Together, they finally succeeded in freeing the trapped souls. Following this, Ygritte came out of exile and was introduced to the new Jedi Order. He became a mentor to both Anakin and Tahiri, accompanying them on their missions. During the Yuuzhan Vong War, Ygritte sacrificed himself to ensure Anakin and Tahiri's escape, ending his long service to the Jedi in a heroic way. Ewoks aren't associated with using the Force, as they would usually lack the mental capacity. However, an unnamed Ewok Jedi appeared after the fall of the Empire, wielding a blue lightsaber and donning full Jedi robes. It is unknown where he came from, but he fought off a group of sannyasins that were trying to kidnap his fellow Ewok comrades. His only recorded appearance is in the Geonosis and the Outer Rim World sourcebook, but considering there were Ewok warriors in the ranks of the rebellion, there might as well be an Ewok Jedi. Ugnots are best known for engineering and maintenance, often seen as factory workers or tinkerers, but one Ugnot named Tree Tower rose to the rank of Jedi Master. By the time of the Clone Wars, he was elderly, with white hair tied in a top knot, and like many Jedi, he took on the role of general in the Grand Army of the Republic. During the war, the Jedi discovered that a group of Ugnots were being trafficked to the Trade Federation to serve as slaves in Confederate factories. Tree Tower volunteered to handle the mission alone. He traveled to the gas giant Yorn Scott, landing on a small platform where he was immediately confronted by two spider droids. He was able to trigger a distress signal before being knocked unconscious and left dangling beneath the platform, caught by his robes. The signal was picked up by the nearby Republic Star Destroyer, and the clone commando unit known as Hope Squad was sent to assist him. They destroyed the spider droids, landed on the platform, and rappelled down to where Tree Tower hung. However, right before they could rescue the Jedi Master, they were ambushed by Separatist jump droids. In the ensuing fight, 3 of the commandos were killed. The squad leader, however, managed to defeat the remaining droids while also catching Tree Tower mid-fall after his robe tore. As the clone secured him, Tree Tower regained consciousness and steadied himself. Back on the platform, Tree Tower rushed forward and tore open a sealed hatch, revealing the Ugnaught slaves inside. He smiled at the surviving clone, both relieved that their mission had succeeded despite the heavy loss of the rest of Hope Squad. Ortolan looked like little blue elephants. Max Rebo is the most famous Ortolan species member, being part of Jabba's band during the original trilogy. Nemb was the only known Ortolan Jedi. He served as a Jedi Knight during the Clone Wars. Late in the conflict, his homeworld of Orto was said to come under attack from the CIS. Thus, the Jedi Council sent Bees to disrupt the Separatist invasion to secure the planet. To achieve that, he assumed the identity of a deceased Ortolan traitor, going undercover to uncover a rumored traitor who was believed to be working to deliver Orto to the Separatists. Just 3 days after his arrival, however, the CIS successfully invaded the planet. He managed to find the traitor, but because the CIS have occupied his planet already, he stayed there, staying undercover and operating behind enemy lines. In his undercover role, he worked to sabotage the new Separatist-backed government and weaken its hold. His efforts helped set the stage for a Republic counterattack that pushed back Confederate forces. During the final phase of the campaign, as the Republic moved to eliminate the last of the Separatist resistance, Order 66 was issued. Following the command, Clone Commander Devis turned on Nemb and killed him. Kaminoans are best known as the architects of the Grand Army of the Republic. Their sterile, clinical society isn't exactly known for being warm to emotion or spirituality, which makes Kinaha, a Kaminoan Jedi, all the more unusual. Kinaha was genetically modified by the Kaminoans to survive long-time hyperspace travel, but never fulfilled that mission. After the failed experiment, she lacked a purpose and was pushed out of the Kaminoan society. As she reached adulthood, she began exhibiting signs of force sensitivity, which the other Kaminoans saw as a flaw of their perfect species. She went on to flee from Kamino as she was scared of them re-educating her. She wandered the galaxy and was eventually found by a rogue Trandoshan Jedi named Crushed Oak. He took her in and trained her in the Jedi arts, eventually bestowing the rank of Jedi Master on her. She went on to witness countless wars, from the Mandalorian Wars, the Jedi Civil War, all the way up to the Clone Wars, having lived for over 3,000 years. Shortly before the Clone Wars broke out, she had a vision about dark side soldiers coming from Kamino, leading her to return there to try and find them. Unbeknownst to her, though, her vision was alluding to the clone soldiers that would lead to the fall of the Jedi. After failing to see the meaning of her vision, she couldn't stop the events that would lead to Order 66. However, as she was never really part of the Jedi Order, she also survived Order 66 and went into hiding. The Zexto were known for pod racing mainly. Oyeb 65, though, was a Zexto from the planet Troikan. He was discovered to be Force-sensitive and taken in by the Jedi Order. He trained under Jedi Master Zitiok Meoi and eventually rose to the rank of Jedi Knight. In time, he took on a Padawan of his own, a Bothan named Johan. During the Clone Wars, Oyeb 65 served as a Jedi General, leading Republic forces in the fight against the Separatists. He met his end during the Order 66 on the Jedi Temple. Nikata Delgormo was a Force-sensitive Hysalrian. The Hysalrian were serpentine in form with 4 limbs. He was trained in the Jedi arts and rose to the rank of Master within the Jedi Order. According to legend, Delgormo was living on a remote swamp world when 2 strangers arrived, a young hermit named Yoda and his human companion who had crash-landed on the planet. After a few days, Delgormo encountered them, recognized their Force sensitivity, and offered to train them as his Padawans. The story claims that sometime later, a Galactic Republic starship arrived in response to a distress signal sent before the crash. Yoda left the planet with the Republic crew, eventually continuing his Jedi training on Coruscant and rising to become Grand Master of the Jedi Order. Whether these events truly occurred is unknown, but if they were true, Delgormo would be the first Master of Yoda. The Ugors were a sentient blob-like species. To navigate the wider galaxy, Ugors often wore specialized suits that gave them a humanoid appearance. Ugors naturally had no anatomy. As a result, injuries to the head area, like a blaster shot that would usually kill other species, were not fatal to Ugors. If you cut one of them in half, they would even duplicate themselves. Orbalin was a male Ugor who made history as the first of his species to join the Jedi Order. During the High Republic era, he rose to the rank of Jedi Master and served as the resident archivist aboard the space station's Starlight Beacon. He absolutely loved his role as an archivist and was extremely knowledgeable about every single book he guarded, even being known for often going into unsolicited lectures on the Jedi history. He had the unique ability to duplicate himself into multiple bodies, so Orbalin could be in several places at once, though each duplicate operated independently and without shared awareness. Over time, the repeated strain of maintaining multiple bodies, combined with the injuries he suffered after getting shot while he was split across duplicates, took a toll on Orbalin. The trauma left him mentally damaged, but even in the aftermath, he remained committed to his duties as a Jedi. Although not a Jedi, Darth Jarjar was one of the many Force-sensitive Gungans, though he kept his true nature hidden behind a mask of clumsiness and buffoonery. In truth, this persona was a carefully crafted illusion, designed to disarm those around him and deflect suspicion from his deeper influence. Beneath the surface, he was a master manipulator, bending galactic events to his will, even being the master of Palpatine and the ultimate end boss of the Star Wars universe.
These are going to hurt you, sir.
So, that's it. Some rare and unique Jedi species in the galaxy. Please subscribe and like the video for more content just like it.